really excited. Hey, I'm going to move over to my other computer here. All right. So I think we're going now. Today we're going to talk about the heart of connection, and that sounds kind of vague, but really it's about relationships. And this is so important, and science is finding more and more the importance of relationships in our health and in our happiness. This is just a depiction of how we are connected and how our relationships are going. Really is a root indicator of all kinds of disease: heart disease, autoimmune disease, diabetes, hormone dysfunction, psychological problems. So relationships and how we are connected with each other is super important. And if you think about how we are all connected, it's really remarkable. And we live in this beautiful world that we all get to share, and we get to do it together. Family is one of the obvious connections. This is my family. They bring me joy, and I think they help make me healthy. And it's really important that you look at your family relationships and see how you can improve those connections. Friends is something that we also need to be healthy. I think kids are better at this than we are as adults, but really reaching out, being a good friend, and having friends makes you more healthy. And community is really important. They've done lots of scientific studies where they will do some type of intervention like medicine or diet change, and they'll do it within a group of or in community. They get better results. And so we're healthier when we are in community and working together. And that's why we do these webinars. That's why we do some group things at the clinic. That's why we have our Facebook page. We want you to be involved in the community of Living Health, and in other communities that you can be involved in. These can be your church groups, your sports teams, but it's really important to be involved in community because we're healthier when we're working together. Super important. And then we all need to figure out where we're at with our spiritual connection. For some of us, that means God and religion. For others, it just means realizing that there's a greater force or power or energy that we need to be connecting with. So this is really important and an important part of being healthy. I think that our connection with nature is really important. And I think this can be part of being spiritually connected as well. But when we're connected with nature, we are healthier. And I think this is super important to do. So when we think about connection, a lot of times today we think about our devices. We think about how we're connecting right now through technology. I think it's important that we realize that the old way of connecting face-to-face, physically in front of each other, is really important. And even though it's really cool to connect through technology, we need to really realize that we also need to connect physically, emotionally, and spiritually with each other. So this is really important for our health. We're finding, we think of genetics, the old way of thinking about genetics is that, you know, my grandparents have heart disease, and so myself and maybe my child are going to end up with the same thing. But with the study of epigenetics, and now there's a new field of sociogenomics, which means the way that we connect with each other and the way that we are socially intertwined has an influence on our genes. And so if we are better connected with each other, if our relationships are doing well, we will do a better job at turning on good genes and turning off bad genes. And this is pretty incredible science that we're finding now. As you know, the old model of medicine is to treat symptoms, but with functional medicine, there's really a new focus of creating health and really connecting providers with patients. And so I think another important connection is your connection with your doctor, with your healthcare team and providers. And so this is really important. This is a little study where they showed that when there was a good connection between the patient and the physician, the markers of inflammation with a common cold were decreased. And they found in similar studies that when there's a good connection or relationship between patient and physician, that diseases are better managed. They see diabetes and sugar levels go down, cholesterol levels even will go down with a better relationship with the doctor. So it's really key to connect with your provider, and so that's really important. So ask yourself, how well are you connected to these things, and how your relationships are doing. When your relationships are in sync and you're well connected in all of these areas, health just has a better way of flowing to you and through you, and you're able to experience healing. Now, many of you know that I love speaking about the heart, so I'm including it again in this discussion. And this is a representation of the magnetic field that is generated by the heart. And is what we found is that when you are in a mode of appreciation, gratitude, love, or compassion, that magnetic field that you generate with your heart actually influences those around you. And so not only are we connected when we touch, but we're also connected electromagnetically through this magnetic field. And so when you are in a good state here of appreciation versus frustration, that is going to be felt by those around you. So this is really important. So the heart is really key in connecting with other people. As we look at developing better connections, I'd like for you to think about the space in which you connect. For example, in our clinic, you may have noticed that I've tried to have an atmosphere that is a good space for us to connect with each other, one-on-one and also in groups. So we've tried to make our reception area more comfortable, the area where we meet in groups. We try to make that more a space that's more conducive to connecting. And the rooms where we meet with patients, we've tried to make those more inviting. But we can also make the space within ourselves more available to connect with other people. So when you create space, you want to create inner space to connect with other people, but also the spaces that you use to connect with others. You want to make sure that those are good spaces to connect in. Relationships are always better if both people are present, or if everybody's present during that interaction. And so when you're with somebody and you're trying to build a relationship, I think it's important to ask, am I present? Am I here in the moment, or is my brain off somewhere else? And so it's really good to practice this, to try to be present when you're with those people that you love and care about. Compassion is something where I love this definition, that compassion is where love meets suffering. And so we can love somebody, but when we're compassionate, we really can feel with them and really reach out. And I think when we talk about compassion and being able to love someone or meet them in their suffering, I think it's really important that we realize that we need to love ourselves. And we cannot have love and compassion for others if we cannot show love and compassion for ourselves. And I think this is super hard for a lot of us to do. And as we learn to love and show compassion for ourselves and accept who we are and where we are, that's when we can really start making progress. I think being authentic is also really important with connection. I think the people that we love and care about can sense when we're authentic, when we can show our vulnerability and be real and honest. And so I think this is really important. So be real and authentic in your connections. Empathy, a lot of times we associate this with compassion, and I think they go hand in hand. But I think when we're empathetic, we're able to identify with the feelings and the thoughts of that person. We can kind of put ourselves in their shoes, even if it's for a brief moment. And so I think this is also a really important part of connecting. There's a system out there called the 5 love languages, and I think it's a great method for working on relationships. You can go to this website called the 5 love languages, and the different love languages are the ways that you can show love to others, but it's also the ways that you might like to have love shown to you. And it can really increase the way that we connect with each other. So I challenge each of you to go to this website and take the little quiz and find out what your greatest 2 love languages are. And then do this with the people in your life so that you can show how much you love them by expressing that in their love language. And so I think this is a great way of connecting. And these are the 5 different love languages: receiving gifts, acts of service, words of affirmation, spending quality time, and physical touch. So I think these are really great ways of pursuing this. When we think about relationships, we need to realize that it's a journey and it's a process, that we all bring to our relationships our own stories and our own goals and dreams. And so it's important to know what that story is, and then evaluate your relationship. You can do the love languages, you can meet with a counselor, and really just standing back and looking at all these different connections and seeing really where you stand and where you need improvement. And then it's really a process of eliminating the things that are causing conflict in those connections, and then replacing the things that we need to replace. And so that can be, again, bringing in those ways of expressing the love languages and the other things we've talked about, being present, being empathetic, compassionate, all of those things. And then as we do those things, we can restore our connections, our spiritual connections, our connections with nature, family, friends, community. So it's really important. And then we want to work on maintaining those connections. And so it's going to be a process. When you maintain, you really start over in this process. So I think this is really important to pay attention to, and realize that I truly believe that there's incredible greatness in each one of you. And as we connect with each other, we can help each other manifest that greatness. This is our logo, and off to the right, you see 6 circles that are really kind of disconnected. But if you take those 6 circles and you connect them and look at our logo is 6 circles that are coming together in a meaningful connection and producing this flower in the middle that's called the flower of life. And that's really what connection is all about. It's about creating life. It's about creating health. And so yeah, I think it's really important to realize that together we can create something that's really beautiful. I love this quote: when love and skill work together, expect a masterpiece. And so as you go through your programs with us, and you're working on the skills of developing a new food plan, and the skills of getting a fitness plan, or learning how to sleep. It's really important that we bring love and connection into the picture. And this is where your greatness is going to be manifest, and we're going to create the masterpiece that is you. And so I want to really thank you for being here today, and just realize that you guys are great. I love you, and I love connecting with you. And I think that connecting with each other is super important. I want to challenge you all to go and connect with us on our Facebook page. Participate in your programs. Be all in and participate in the group activities that we have, because that connection is going to help you in a lot of ways that the program without that connection will. So thanks again. I hope you're having a great day, and we'll connect with you soon. See ya.